Welcome back to Fort Worth Crosstalk. I'm joined again in my weekly spot with Rob. Rob loves JC on Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it this week. And we're gonna destroy atheism some more. But first, we're gonna destroy the position of a particular atheist. Rob, introduce yourself and tell us what you got going on with Cam, and let's address that first.
Well, I mean, on our last stream, like, so okay, you can find me at Rob Loves JC and at Rob Loves Debates. But in our last stream, all I said is I don't. Should I take atheists seriously? And you said I advise you not to. And I said, well, I don't take Chem seriously. And then Chem went on a 2-hour rampage on his own live for 2 hours with his big sister, all because they said I don't take him seriously. And it was like one comment out of like 36 minutes of a live stream that he took and went 2 hours in a live stream, just calling us all kinds of things. I don't know how much of you saw of it, Gary, but it was not good.
I'm just like, this is why I've lost. I used to love destroying atheists in debates. I used to love destroying their non-arguments. But like, first off, they can't ever defend their position, right? So it's not even a debate. It's just them trying to move goalposts and create straw men and try to get like.
Well, the whole thing is, if they didn't move the goalpost, what would they be left with?
If you ask them about anything, it's which God. Why?
Or a lack of belief.
A lack of belief. It's just it's stupidity.
Did you see that when I tagged you in about the whole because I lack of belief and I don't assert a positive that God does exist. So and I can't prove a negative. How many times have we been through you can't prove a negative?
There was a study done, and it was done by I'm sure secular atheist college professors out of York University in Canada and UCLA. And it tried to show that Christians lack critical thought. And it surveyed 200 or 300 Christians and 200 or 300 atheists. And what it showed is the part of the brain, the frontal cortex, that controls rational thought, basically shuts down in the atheist brain.
It controls what?
That controls critical thought.
Oh, critical thought. Oh, of course.
Confronted with a new idea.
It shuts down in atheists.
It shuts down.
Yeah.
I mean, this is why the Bible says they're fools, because they are literally fools. This is just, again, science is a methodology. It's a methodology used to help understand God's creation. This is why it's created by a Christian, and it's hated by atheists.
Exactly. So, Gary, today I believe we're talking about the moral argument in atheism, which is one of my favorites. I don't know about you.
There is no such thing as absolute morality, and the Bible is absolutely immoral, says every atheist ever.
And they also love to say that
people, these are idiots, right? Like,
oh yeah, exactly. Like they say, like you said, the two things that I always stay with me whenever I think of you, or especially when I'm talking to you, is that first of all, atheists are fundamentally unserious people, and secondly, atheism is one big exercise that sets you up to say things that you know are not true.
The entire religion is to get you to say things you know aren't true.
Yeah, but the thing is, these things that are things that have stayed with me that you've said in the numerous podcasts that we've done together, that those two things have stayed with me, and they help me navigate my own discourse with atheists. That one is that they're fundamentally unserious people, and two is atheism is one big exercise to set you up to say things that you know are not true.
I want to give everyone within the sound of my voice an analogy. Think you're at Target and you're in the toy section, and there's a young mom and her young child, maybe a 3 or 4 year old child.
Hey, Gary, you can hear me clearly, right?
I can hear you just fine, right? And the 3-year-old is in the toy aisle. And mom said, no, you can't have that toy. And the child is throwing a hissy fit meltdown. We've all seen that before, right? That's an atheist. That's all it is. Would you take that 3-year-old having a meltdown in the toy aisle seriously? No? That person, an atheist is just an adult-sized version of that.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, so like, for example, that's what I mean. Like him having a 2-hour hissy fit, and he couldn't even do it alone. He had to do it with his big sister.
All they can do. Yeah.
because like all because of one thing I said that I don't take him seriously. One thing I said. So maybe in 5 seconds, out of a 36-minute stream, he makes a 2-hour live stream on his channel. Gloves are off. And this guy wants to debate me and have you as a moderator. How's that going to work?
Look, I'm fine with how. I mean, it's not going to go well. Like it's like I don't know what everyone expects, but like it's
no.
Not
But I mean,
gonna...
like I'm not. I mean, if he's anything like he was the other day, I'm not going to beat someone who's like going off the rails and swearing and cursing.
That's why I said to avoid debate with atheists unless there's a specific topic that we're gonna debate and we're gonna stick to that topic. And if you lie 3 times, then the debate's over. If you straight
the thing is, we had
if you lie 3 times, the debate's over.
Yeah, we had agreed some time ago. I don't remember how long ago exactly, but within the last number of weeks, I proposed to do a debate with him on atheism versus theism, and there was 4 lines that we're going to be arguing: morality, design, logic, epistemology.
He doesn't know what epistemology means, so that's going to be difficult for him.
The thing is, I
like to believe. I mean, they're idiots. They're idiots.
No,
I like to believe. Okay, I like to believe that you like to believe. Where does that put us now? Like, where does that put us?
That's why I've been using your thing on my YouTube channel. Explain. Just one word. Explain.
These are people who've been boosted 10 times. They're still wearing a mask in the car by themselves. These are idiots who just believe anything that they're told.
They're told.
Anything.
They're sheep.
These are the least objective, free-thinking people.
And
These
they have
are
absolutely
the least skeptical people in the world.
And they have, like you said, 0 intellectual curiosity.
None. Zero. They don't like knowledge. They have no interest in gaining knowledge. They've never read a book, right? Maybe X-Men comics or something like that. But that's it. Like they have 0 intellectual curiosity. If you don't believe me,
you said your average garden. Yeah, you said your average garden variety atheist is a basement dwelling porn and video game addict who's like grossly overweight. That's your garden variety internet atheist.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to take that kind of person seriously? I wouldn't.
Never.
Yeah.
Like in the West, in the U.S., if you look at like the obesity rate. Like,
wait, Gary, we got to stop for 1 second. Remember, we have to ask a question at the beginning of every show now. So name one good thing that atheism has produced. Just one thing. Still 0, right?
0, right?
Yeah, okay. Cool.
If you look at the obesity rate among atheists, it's like 5 times higher than the national average. Or like the one
for atheists is 5 times higher than national average in the States.
It's through the roof, bro. In the West, in America, in the UK, and Canada, yeah. Look at it. These are people who are losers, and they're such losers that they say, "God, I hate God, so I'm going to deny His existence." That's all it is. That's all it is. That's atheism.
The thing is, like, what if I ask you, Gary, name healthy or productive things that Christians have produced? Go on, just name. Like, give you 10 seconds. Name
the scientific method.
Things
hospitals, universities. You know what I'm saying? I can do this all the universities.
Oh, universities,
churches,
charities.
Churches. I can name one. I can go on all day, right?
Oh, exactly. Because we're actually,
when there's a natural disaster, the first thing they do is call out the Christian and Catholic charities.
Yeah,
charity is basically a Christian thing. Like if you look, I don't know about.
I mean, it's not even something we think to do. It's just part of who we are.
The number one indicator of will someone give money to charity? The number one indicator is, does that person go to church once a week? If the person says yes, the chances of him giving to charity is like tenfold higher than if he says no.
Yeah, that's why I said I had to laugh when some atheists said that atheists give more to charity than Christians.
Well, that is wrong.
That's just demonstrably wrong.
It's just false. I mean, you just made that up.
I think it was like one stat on Google said like atheists give more than Christians, but like everything after that just destroyed it. So it's like for example, if
the problem with that theory is it's not true, right?
Well, of course. Yeah. But the thing is, Here's another thing. What in atheism has ever demonstrably proven to be true? Like abiogenesis, still not true. Macroevolution, still not true. Causes without effects without causes, still not true.
Energy
Like
created
everything
itself,
they
yeah.
say is demonstrably false, and they
A
know
dog
it.
becoming a non-dog, a dog becoming a raspberry or a snake or a horse or something.
It's just so
That hasn't
dumb.
happened yet. Yeah.
Like you said, because they have zero intellectual curiosity, they know nothing, and they espouse.
Oh, and they're proud of it too. They love
the thing is, it's all back. It's all in Romans 1. Professing themselves to be wise, that they became foolish, and what do? They suppress the truth in unrighteousness. So, in other words, again, they know that God is real, that Jesus is real. Everyone knows that Jesus is real. Like Jesus' historicity.
They don't know anything though. Like you say that. You think they've read a book on the evidence of Christ? Of course they haven't.
No, but I mean,
They've
like
never read a
even
book on
Bart
anything. They
Ehrman,
haven't read a
who's
book
an
since high
agnostic,
school.
Bart Ehrman, who's an agnostic atheist, he said, no scholar of antiquity, in any worldview, would deny that Jesus is a historical person. He said, we know at least two things about Jesus of Nazareth. One is that he was a real person, and second, that he died by crucifixion under the Roman government. He said, even like every scholar in antiquity, it means even an atheist scholar knows that Jesus was a real person in history. It's not up for debate.
Of course, right? But most atheists don't know that. Most atheists don't know anything, like at all.
Because again, they, like I said, they have zero.
Other than porno and X-Men movies and maybe video games.
But remember, it goes back to what you already said. They have zero intellectual curiosity. None.
Which is like,
okay, we got to get into the moral argument, Gary.
Let's get into the moral argument. Okay, so
I'm gonna play the devil's advocate. I'm gonna play the idiot atheist. I say, Gary, the God of the Old Testament sent plagues. He killed children. He wiped out the world with the flood. God of the Old Testament is clearly like he's a monster. He's so immoral.
Okay. Immoral by what ultimate standards?
By human standards. I mean, it's just wrong to wipe out people.
Wrong by what ultimate standard? Why is that wrong?
Well, I mean, it's not good for the species. For I usually say that I think of natural selection.
Who cares?
It's not good for the species. It's not good for our species, for our numbers to dwindle.
Who cares what's good for the species? There's nothing distinct or special about humans, right? There's no spark of divinity in humans, right? Humans are just another species. Who cares what's good for them?
Wow. All right, I'm done.
Wow, that took less than 60 seconds to destroy atheism.
Exactly. The thing is, like, remember I said too, like, but wouldn't a global flood or like a plague be good for natural selection?
That would be amazing. It'd be awesome. It would get all the way. Yeah, it'd be awesome.
Right? I mean, whatever happened to like survival of the fittest? So if a plague wipes out millions of people, then didn't it wipe out the weak to make room for the stronger? So we have more resources.
The weak, more resources for the strong. So that's a whole run.
So wouldn't a global flood be great for natural selection?
It wouldn't get any better than that. Like that would be the only thing you have left is the strong at that point.
Pardon?
The only thing left is the strong. Everyone else is gone. So this is a home run. All the bad genes.
Yeah, I mean, God saving 8 people would be like, why not just save 2 people so we can reproduce? Why did you save 8?
We know that because of genetics, right? The atheists hate blacks, Jews, other people.
If you look into it, Darwinian evolution specifically from Darwin, his version of evolution is demonstrably racist. Like it's not even.
If you're an atheist, like, look, yeah, what part of the world is less developed? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like they hate it. The argument to exterminate all the Jews was based on evolution. The argument to enslave black people was based on evolution. Abortion is based on eliminating black people because they're undesirable, right? Like, yes, atheism.
Yeah.
Hates Jews.
Yeah, exactly. So
like,
here's the thing, Gary. Like, what did the North Atlantic slave trade, abortion, and everything that wipes people out be good for natural selection?
It would be
Wouldn't the
great for natural
Holocaust
selection.
would be a home run for natural selection, wouldn't it?
If you're an atheist, then that's your worldview. Yeah, less people.
Yeah.
And Bill Maher said this out loud when he was talking about abortion. He said,
Who?
pro-life Bill Maher, the comedian. Bill
Oh,
Maher,
right, yeah, okay.
said this out, and he's an atheist, and
Mhm.
he said out loud, I always get on my friends on the left for saying that pro-life people hate women. They don't hate women. They think it's murder. And they're kind of right. It is murder. Except that there are 8 billion
Kind
people
of
on the face of the earth.
Hey, at least he's
So
being
if some have to go,
philosophically
some have to
consistent
go.
with his worldview.
You're saying
You can
it
only
out
say
loud.
kind of.
Well, yeah.
Well,
But
you know,
he's
Bill
acknowledging
Gates
that
also
it's
said,
murder, and he's
you know,
justifying murder. That's an atheist
you know that
perspective.
Bill Gates talked about depopulation on a TED
By
Talks, right?
15%, if we do a good job using, by 15%.
Do you know what 15% of 8 billion people is? It's over a billion people.
6 billion people, roughly, give or take. Yeah,
Yeah, it's about a
little more
billion
than a billion.
people. 15% is about a billion people gone. That's like 3 times the population of your country, man. Gone.
Gone.
And he just talks about it. And people are like, he's talking about you idiots.
But it shows their true colors. It shows what they actually are. I appreciate it when they say it out loud. That way we can discuss it. Thank you. Right? Like, if someone is a racist, just put it on the table, and then we'll discuss your actual views.
Yeah.
Put it on the table. Put it on the table, and let's discuss it. Like, I'm a Christian. I have a biblical worldview. I'm going to put that on the table, and I'm going to defend the Bible. And you have an issue with it.
Right.
The problem with atheism is, like, they don't have a position to defend. It's just moving the goalposts, right? It's
right. So that's why when they say things like, when they say anything's immoral, but the question is, what else on the standard? Explain. And then they got nothing.
Right. So
as soon as you say, remember, I was actually just trying to get someone to admit that they were having a conversation with me on Facebook or no, Twitter. I think you saw that because I tagged you. Yeah, remember we're talking about yesterday? And because they said, do you realize you're having a conversation on Twitter? And they said, are you asking me a question? I'm like, see, that's what we're talking about. They can't even they say that they're doing things in real time on the platform that they're having, because as soon as they admit one thing, then they have to admit that they know at least 2 things, that it's happening and that they know it's happening.
And then they know it's happening. And then they know that they know only 2. It doesn't end.
It's just so dumb.
The other thing I would say is, when debating an atheist on anything, ask them why. When you're debating an atheist on anything, ask them why 4 times. Okay? Like I just did with Rob. When Rob said God was immoral, I asked why 4 times. And on the 4th why, I think it might have only been the 3rd, but if you get to 4, they'll be totally stumped because they can't explain their religion.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll have nothing. Why? I don't know. Why is murder wrong? Because it violates another human being. Why is that wrong?
So what? Why is that wrong?
They don't have
why is that wrong?
Ultimate standard. Why is that wrong?
I remember.
Agree with. But I have a basis for my belief. You don't.
Brilliant.
I have a basis for thinking it's wrong to violate another human being. You don't.
Gary, have you ever heard of John Lennox?
I like the mathematician. Yeah, he's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah. So he said he remember one time he posited just very simply, he said murder is wrong, and he said, and then he looked to the atheist. Why is murder wrong? No answer. Why is murder wrong? It's a question. Even they can't answer because their worldview.
Wheel there. Yeah.
Here's the thing: in atheism, nothing is wrong. There's nothing wrong in atheism.
Or good.
It's only preferences.
Preferences. It's just preferences.
So in other words,
vanilla, not chocolate, pizza, not tacos, Kobe, not LeBron. All preferences.
That means they can't even say. This is one of the things that led Daniel, whose handle on Twitter is @DarwinToJesus, led him away from atheism. He said when he was talking to some atheists who are actually philosophically consistent with their worldview and religion, said, well, guys, you know that rape is like objectively wrong, right? And they took him aside and said, Daniel, we can't say that it's objectively wrong. We can only say that we think it's wrong. And then he's like, what? You can't even say that rape is objectively wrong? And that's the thing that led Daniel at Darwin to Jesus on Twitter away from atheism, because they had no standard for morality. And then once he realized that they had no standard for morality, that they have no epistemology, and that he was being hypocritically inconsistent with his own epistemology and worldview, he said, I'm out. I can't stay in this. It's absurd.
And then see how thinking and questioning leads people away from atheism.
Yeah, see, Daniel started thinking and questioning his own worldview and atheism.
And he ceased being an atheist. Yeah.
And he went from atheist. Now he's a born again believer.
Glory to God. Glory to God.
Yeah, praise God. I mean, that's what I mean. If you do two things, just two things that Gary said. If you start thinking, you start questioning people, you won't stay in atheism. It's impossible. If you start to question it and think about it, there's no way you can stay in it, because you'll see the absurdity for what it is. And you'll see that atheism is just three things wrapped up in one thing. It's absurd, it's irrational, it's anti-scientific, and it's illogical.
Completely illogical. It's completely anti-scientific. And they try
there's no. The thing is, atheism doesn't even allow for logic, because logic is absolute.
Yeah, you can't have logic. It's absolute. Pardon? It's absolute, and it requires a lawgiver. Like the laws of logic, where do laws come from? Laws come from lawgivers.
All laws come from lawgivers.
If there's an absolute law, there must be an absolute lawgiver, and they can't deal with that. So they can't deal with logic.
Well, here's the
scientific method is based on two things: testing and observation. So you're assuming that there's uniformity in nature.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which infers design.
Which infers design, but in an ever-changing, purposeless, directionless universe that
defies the law of
it would be insane to think why would tomorrow?
And now you're defying the law of non-contradiction, because you can't have uniformity in nature and be unguided.
And you assume that you're using your senses, that your senses
are
working properly. Why would you assume
that? Why in atheism would you ever assume that
about a monkey? Why would your senses be working properly? Why would you assume that they are? Yeah. You can't trust your senses.
No.
So you can't trust your senses to observe a world, a universe that's forever changing. So
then you have no uniformity.
And that's why atheists hate the scientific method. They hate science.
Gary, a world that's forever changing, you can't have uniformity. So then you're smack up against the law of non-contradiction again.
Contradiction. Yeah. I expect in an ever-changing universe for today to be like tomorrow, to be like 10,000 years from now. Well, no, you can't.
That doesn't work.
Again,
that smacks up against the law of non-contradiction. And just for 1 second, said the law of non-contradiction says that two things can't be equally true and false at the same time. So, in other words, it can't be
Tuesday and not Tuesday at the same place. It
can't be Tuesday and not Tuesday. Yeah, it can't be Tuesday and Thursday at the same time. It can be Tuesday and then Thursday 2 days later. They can't be coexist at the same time. But for the sake of time, I also want to say, so Gary, scientists have proved, scientists are moral agents, let's keep this in mind, that if they put things in a lab, they almost made it so non-organic matter became organic matter, but it was missing one ingredient. How do you
life from non-life again? Yeah. So what you've done is intelligently design life. If your argument is that life can be intelligently designed, then I agree. Is that your argument?
My argument was actually that they didn't know that intelligent people put non-organic matter in a test tube to see that if it would become organic.
Right.
So in other words, intelligence was required to prove that almost non-intelligence.
That's right. An intelligent mind created life. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So exactly. Your argument is that life comes from an intelligent mind.
There's a guy. His handle was that non-evolution, not underscore evolution 1 is his Twitter handle. And he's like, so there's this. It's a meme of a scientist putting non-organic matter in a test tube, saying, "I'm going to prove." I, an intelligent being, am going to prove that if I can create intelligent life, that intelligence wasn't needed in the first cause.
And I want to just address one thing on the issue of morality. I've talked to countless atheists who say that the Bible condones rape, and then they'll cite something out of usually Leviticus or Exodus.
Yeah, usually Leviticus.
Leviticus. Which is insane because do you know what the penalty for rape was under the Jewish law?
Pardon?
Do you know what the penalty for rape was under the Jewish law?
Death.
It was forced sex was punished by
you'd be stoned to death. You'd be stoned to death.
Right. So
what law were you killed? But you were killed slowly. These people have no intellectual curiosity.
Yeah. It's like where did you like and they always quote a verse like you said from Leviticus, and it doesn't mention rape. It mentions consensual sex, and that like it's like it doesn't say rape at all, right? When it says,
no. The other thing is, they'll say that God condones slavery and genocide.
Okay, so
that God committed genocide in the flood.
When they say slavery, ask them what they won't know. But ask them what they mean by slavery, right? Because if you read the Bible, if you read the U.S. Constitution, slavery is not outlawed. Slavery in most situations are. Slavery as a form of punishment, prison, is still completely allowed. We still have millions of prisoners, slaves. Oh, yeah. Okay?
Yeah,
the thing is, in the Bible were punished for war crimes and other crimes. Okay? So if you want, we don't like to use the word slavery now. Okay, fine.
No.
But unless you think
but the thing is,
violent rapists and mass murderers should be free to walk the general population and not be enslaved by the state, then you agree that slavery should exist in every country that I know of.
Well, then again, now you've got them now you've got them cornered in a philosophical position.
You have to ask them what they mean by slavery. Define what you mean. In Timothy,
most people, in my experience, most people when they think of slavery think of like black people in the cotton trade
because they're stupid. Because they're stupid. They don't know how to think. That's why.
Thing is, but we both know, Gary, that a lot of times slavery, as we know in the Bible, was indebted servitude, indebted labor. So, for example, say hypothetically, I owed Gary $50,000. Now it's unable to pay him for whatever reason. So what I would do is say, Gary, I don't have 50 grand, but what I can do is I can hire myself out to you and work it off through labor. And Gary said, okay, that's fine. You can work for me for say X amount of years, and then it's paid off. That, generally speaking, is what we know to be slavery in the Old Testament. It's indebted labor because of debts that I couldn't pay. So if I owe Gary 50 grand and I had no way of paying it, I could say, hey, Gary, I can't pay it back like through financial means, but I can pay it back through labor. What do you think? And then a lot of times, okay, we'll go into a contract. And actually, a lot of times, the slave who hired himself out to pay back through labor, oftentimes stayed because the relationship was better to stay with the family of the person that they were working for than they would be off by themselves.
I just want to read this is from 1 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 10. For sexually immoral persons, for homosexuals, for kidnappers and slave traders, for liars and perjurers, and for whatever else is contrary to sound doctrine. Slave trading is contrary to sound doctrine. That's what the Bible says, right? So this idea that it condones rape or slavery is ridiculous.
So there you go. It's one verse. What's that? First Timothy. Is that 1 Timothy 10? 1:10. Okay, 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 10. So there we have one verse that says God is obviously not for slavery.
Appreciate your time.
That's the thing is the other thing is because they have zero intellectual curiosity, Gary, is they have no idea that it's this covenantal relationship that has completely changed in the New Testament to the Old. Like you and I know that we're under grace in the New Covenant, but the atheist who has zero intellectual curiosity or whatever doesn't know that we're not living in Leviticus. We're living in from Matthew to Revelation.
Right. They don't know that. I saw someone make up a meme, right? And it put some verse, right? And it said at the end of the verse, Ecclesiasticals 25:20 something, right? And every atheist was like reposting it and responding to it, like
Ecclesiasticals?
Ecclesiasticals chapter 25. And
There's no such book.
There's no such book. There's a book called Ecclesiastes, but it only goes up to 12 chapters and then it stops. So like, but it was to bait them. It was to make them look stupid, and they all bought it hook, line, and sinker. They couldn't,
of course, because they don't.
They don't. Wasn't real.
Well, I mean, how many of these people actually crack open the Bible?
None. Zero. These are people are
exactly.
ridiculous. All right, Rob. We do have to run. I thank you for your time. I gotta cut this off. I gotta get going. We will follow up on this next week. I think we should continue.
So Gary, still nothing atheism as good as produced, right?
Nothing.
And that there's still fundamentally unserious people, and that atheism still sets you up to say things you know aren't true.
Absolutely.
And that they're still suppressing the truth and unrighteousness, and they all know there's a God.
They always will be. It was written,
but they still know there's a God.
They know.
Everyone knows there's a God.
Everyone knows that.
So they can't be agnostic then.
Let me know what you guys think. Leave your ignoramuses. Ignoramuses in the Latin.
Yeah, exactly.
Rob, tell everyone where they can find you on social media.
They can find me at Rob Loves Debates or at Rob Loves JC on Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it this week. And they can also find me on my YouTube channel at Rob Pilled Apologetics.
And find me at Fort Worth Crosstalk. That's FTW_crosstalk on Twitter or X, or whatever you want to call it now. Rob, I appreciate your time and look forward to having you back next week.
Sure.